Hi.
Hi, how are
How
you?
are you? All right, let me
Okay.
get situated. How's your day been?
It's been good. It's been busy, but it's been very good.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I know you're prepping for a launch, right?
Yes. So my group program, Get Crazy Visible, we're running the second round of it in September, and I'm so excited for it. So in
Yay.
August, I'm launching it again.
Oh my gosh, so exciting. Yes, Sarah,
Yeah.
we're going to be spilling tea. I actually have a
Hi,
cup of
Sarah.
tea. All right, so I'm going to be recording a podcast as well. So we're just like checking all the boxes off for maximizing content here. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Wildly You podcast. We have Lexi Weigel here. I'm going to let her introduce herself here in a second. But on this session, we're going to be talking about how Instagram has become the real Regina George in the social media platform stance and kind of everything that Lexi was talking about this in a group, and we'll get there in a second. But Lexi, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody that's watching or listening, and we'll get going.
Yeah, I would love to. So my name is Lexi Weigel, not Heigel, although there's only one letter off. So it's honestly, it's an honest mistake. But my name is Lexi, and I am a marketing strategist, and I work with digital service providers to sign clients through Instagram. So I got my start in the online business world in 2018 because I was looking for a job change. I wanted something that was location free, just like very where I could choose my own schedule, my own time, my own everything. And I found the world of virtual assistants through Pinterest, actually. So I was a virtual assistant, and it actually really coincided with what my previous job was because I already had a year and a half of social media experience. And it just really worked well to just start my own business, start signing my own social media clients. And now I am just like in the online space, and it's been really fun.
Yay! It's been fun up until lately, right? With how Instagram has shifted a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Would you say
exactly.
would you say that Instagram was your like main platform?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's always been my favorite app. Even before I started my own business and I was basically like working with Instagram. I mean, I never had Facebook until I started my business and I thought that I needed a business page. I always hated Twitter. I had it for like 4 months in high school and I deleted it. I I can't even tell you the last time I checked Snapchat anymore. Like out of all of the social media platforms, Instagram has always been my favorite. And I think that's just because of like the energy on it, or I know that we're going to talk about this at some point, but like the energy that it's kind of built and the community that it's built since it started.
I really feel that the community on Instagram is unparalleled, and we'll see people that we know like pop in and out throughout our whole live here today. So that's gonna be so fun. But for anybody that doesn't know what's been happening with Instagram, if you missed the announcement from Instagram CEO, he announced that they're claiming it now. They're competing with TikTok. They are pushing video content, and they're basically saying that Reels and all the video content is going to be king here, which is not news, but the announcement, I think, kind of came as a shock to people. Would you agree with that?
I think so, which I think that anytime anyone, not just like a social media platform, but anytime anyone comes out and officially announces anything, it's always going to be this kind of like, okay, so it's officially official. So, I mean, obviously, ever since they came out with stories and then it was IGTV and then it was Reels last fall, it's just, you can look at the history and you can see how they've been moving to video. But for them to come out and directly straight up say we're no longer a photo sharing or just a photo sharing app, I mean, it's going to take some people by shock a little bit.
100%. And I think we'll touch on this here in a little bit, the fact that people like to overshare things that might have already been common knowledge. But when we enter this realm of chatting with other marketers and digital marketing and social media people, we're marketers by nature, so we're gonna find those key words that are gonna make you want to look at it. And I fell victim to a guru that was sharing her information the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, let's talk about story views and how like we can get them up." Oh my gosh! So I was like ready for her 20-minute video, and then nothing was new. Nothing new. Just use the stickers. Go watch other people's stories. Give more than you take. And I'm like, these were not things that were going to blow my mind. So I think it's all relative in terms of this news and how we take it and how we move forward with it. So why don't you talk about the vibe change that you mentioned a little bit earlier?
Yes. So there's been a definite vibe change, and I don't feel like I'm the only one who's felt this, because I would honestly say this has probably been like leading up to it for the past 3 to 4 months. And only a few weeks ago did I actually did it click for me? And I was like, this just feels different. Is because I was thinking about how I used to feel when I first started my business page, when I was a virtual assistant, when I would like watch everyone's stories and everything. And it would just always be every day I would come on here, I would post what I needed to post. I would talk to the people or I would talk to people in DMs. I would watch everyone's stories. And the whole energy has just changed completely, because it used to be everyone was just sharing value and helping people. And it just felt like such a stronger community almost. And now it feels like everyone has taken some sort of a break from Instagram in the past couple weeks or even month. Like literally, I feel like every single person I follow that I watch their stories has said like, oh, I'm taking this week off of Instagram so you won't see me posting, or I needed a break from social media or something like that. And I don't think, I mean, that's not a coincidence that everyone has been feeling this. And it is very much because of the way that they're pushing content now. And like, if I were to scroll, I don't even think I scroll down my feed anymore, to be very real with you. Like, I don't even, and when I do, it's all reels, and it just feels very disjointed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting to hear that your feed is reels now.
Yeah. Like I would say 4 out of 5 posts on my home feed now is all reels. But the trouble with, and this is just like a marketing like thing for me, it's just that reels on the homepage, it cuts off at the, and I forget what the ratio is. It's like 4:5 ratio. So if the person designed their reel and there's text or stickers or visual features outside of that ratio, you have to click into it. And that's like a very like, that's just like a design thing that I noticed, but I think that contributes to the weird vibe change.
Oh, for sure. And the content that's shared in Reels is so much different than what we're used to in like the scroll. So I think that's important to point out. But if you guys didn't hear her say this, make sure that when you're editing your Reels, you're keeping your text in the bubble, because they're probably popping up on people's news feeds more than people are going to the Reels section. So that was a good tip.
Yeah.
Something else that you brought up was that you don't really scroll the feed anymore. And I think that is very over-encompassing of things that I've been feeling too lately. So when I do go scroll the feed, because I like to do some market research for my clients, so I'll scroll on their feeds and I'll scroll on my feed as well. And a lot of times when I encounter content that's like, you should be doing this, or the reason you're not at 100K months yet is because you don't care, or like really shame marketing kinds of things. And it just feels gross. And who are these strangers really to tell me how I should feel, right? So it has this like huge weight over my shoulders, and I don't like to consume that kind of content anymore. And I know that people out there are starting to feel the same way. And I think that people have taken the idea of a polarizing opinion and kind of extrapolated it to this point where it's no longer just an opinion anymore. It's like, I'm going to use the word, I don't mean it as extreme, but it's kind of like dictatory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about any of that? Do you feel the same way? Have people been saying that to you too?
Yeah, I definitely like get that, because I've seen that a lot too on like my feed, and I do see a lot of that in just content that I see now. And I will even say this, to be very transparent, I feel like I was taught that at one point, like back, back like a year and a half ago. That's what everyone was saying, because they're like, oh, but if you're polarizing, you'll get shares, it starts a conversation, because it's just because it's like such a strong opinion. And so a year ago, that's what everyone was doing. And I'll admit, I feel like I've even done that in the past in my content. But now, because there has been such a shift in the online space, it's almost like, well, even not to get off topic just a little bit, but even like scarcity. Like a year ago, every single person was teaching in their programs to use Scarcity. And
It's funny, this is like the second live in a row that it has crashed when we were in like a good, we were in a good flow. So, good Lord. Like if Instagram's going to push us for video content, they need to get the bugs worked out. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I was like requesting to join and it kept saying it wasn't sent and everything. So I was like, whatever. I don't even know where it cut me off. I was just
You're talking about scarcity mindset in programs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was kind of like a little bit of a tangent off of what we were talking about. And I'm trying to, it was like a polarizing content and everything. So to take a little bit of a tangent, which is on the same like line and everything, even like false scarcity a year or even like 2 years ago, everyone was talking about how to use false scarcity in your messaging, which now it's just super inauthentic looking back at it. And it's just not even something that almost like consumers respond to anymore because it's been overused so much. And now, I mean, it's not something that feels good to use. And so on that same line with like polarizing and just like super like use the word, so I'll use it too, like dictatory, it's almost just like my way is right, no one else's, this is the only way to do it. But if we've seen anything in the past year in the online space, it's that you can build a business any way you want to, and you can follow your own rules. You don't have to follow anyone else's.
Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. And I think as business owners that are trying to get their message out there, it's becoming more important to lower the walls that people have that have been built because of the ways that we were taught. Because I teach polarizing opinions, but I make sure that people understand the difference between ones that feel good and don't make people feel like crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Versus the other. Yeah.
I talk about opinions too, like, and even in Get Crazy Visible, I teach a polarizing opinions, but the same way you just said, it's not about like being like, okay, my way is the only way and you'll fail if you do anything else. It's more of like, what do I have to say that can bring value to someone, that even if someone else might disagree? So yeah, it's definitely something to be considered.
100%. And I think that's a really good lead into talking about the polls that I actually put up on my stories over the weekend. So I bribed people to vote my polls with free coffee. I gave away free coffee. So if you're listening or watching, I do that sometimes. So stay on the lookout. But out of the 64 people that engaged with the polls, I asked them if they would prefer short captions or long captions. And this is just, of course, we're talking about Instagram. So this is just a regular feed post. I didn't differentiate if it was a carousel post or a reel or what have you, just flat out long or short captions. And 76% of those 64 people said short captions, which blows my mind. The ones that did say long captions were service providers. So I thought that was very interesting. So I think as service providers, I want to hear if you agree with this, but I think as service providers, we get a little bit long-winded because we want to make sure people understand our passion and how we do things and what sets us apart versus just kind of hitting them with what we want them to know. We kind of make them work hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this honestly kind of goes back into the way user habits have changed on Instagram, and even ultimately going back to like the algorithm changes, because like I know that you didn't specify whether it was like a carousel post or if it was just like a plain feed post or whatever, but lately I have noticed the uptrend or the increase in trend of using like longer carousel post, and to where it's almost like they just lift up their straight Instagram caption and then they just put it into a carousel post, and then it's branded, it's pretty, you swipe through, which that's also like a boost to the algorithm and it shows people are interested. But for me, it also shows, like, going back to like the user habits, it's like almost like the attention span. I don't want to read, which I catch myself doing the exact same thing. It's like if I see a large block of text, no emojis, no white space, no nothing to keep it visually interesting, I'm probably not going to read it that long. I'm probably just going to skim it.
Yep, 100%. I'm the same way when I'm consuming content. Is I need those little breadcrumbs throughout the caption, whether it's an emoji or like bolded text. Like I need that. So That was very important. And I love what you brought up about the carousel posts. I personally, like when I teach the repurposing of content, I tell them if you have like a micro blog style caption, definitely see how you can repurpose that into a carousel post, because not only are you trying to get those people that maybe skimmed past your caption, but you're also having them be kinesthetic in the way that they're consuming your content, giving them something visually appealing with the slides, like you mentioned, Lexi, and the swiping of it too. So I love carousel posts, and we can talk about carousel posts here in a minute, because I could rant all day about it. And I think that they do not get the credit that they deserve because people are so hyper focused on hashtags. So don't let me forget about that. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
The second poll was, do you prefer in your posts that you're consuming to learn how to do something, or do you want a personal story? And of those 64 people, they were an even split. It was 50-50. So I think that's good, because that allows us to still show up and share our expertise, but also reminds us that people want to know who we are as the person behind our account.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is super interesting to me that it was exactly half and half split, because this actually goes back to like marketing psychology. Like in the psychological principles of sales, you have authority and then you also have liking. So people want to know that you're an expert, and this is all like psychologically backed. People want to know that you're an expert, of course. They want to be able to trust that they know who they're paying attention to, who they're consuming information from, if they're a client or a customer that they're spending their money with. But they also want to like the person. And this has been proven even in books like Why She Buys by Bridget Brennan. As females, we just want to do business with, or as women, we just want to do business with people that we like and that we trust, and that we want to be not only like business partners with, colleagues with, coworkers with, etc., but we also just want to be friends with.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but with my clients, like, to get the big transformations from them, they have to open up and they have to trust me enough to be able to do that. And they wouldn't do that if they didn't know me personally. So I loved seeing that 50-50 split, because I love giving away value, but I also want people to know how weird I am. It's a very important brand pillar.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, even going back to like the halo effect, it's just like, if we have things in common with people, we're going to like them more. And that doesn't stop when it comes to business. It just gets amplified, because then you're just talking all of the time.
Yes, 100%. And you don't want to feel like just a random talking head that nobody's listening to, because nobody listens to you, and then it feels a certain way when people don't engage, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And then the last one, which I thought was very interesting. So I gave them a slider and I said, if there were 5 posts in a week, how many posts would you want to be feel-good content? And I did like, each number had its own spot, and the average answer was about 3.5 out of 5. So people are telling us that they're tired of the content that makes them feel like crap. And I agree. So I'm so glad to see that. I think that the shift in content is going to be interesting, because was it last year or the year before that we were battling with toxic positivity?
I don't remember. I feel like I honestly couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
I think
my
what happened
timeline
was,
has been like so messed up with the pandemic and everything.
Right? I don't know what day it is. What even year is it? Like, I don't feel like it's 2021, but anyways, I feel like we overcorrected from the toxic positivity era into the like super strong polarizing opinions, where it felt like everything that you read was, it's either this way or you don't grow, or it's either this way and it won't work. So I think we overcorrected. So something going forward that comes up for me is that we want to make sure that when you're reading content that makes you feel good or makes you feel bad, like, make sure that you know that it doesn't have to be that way. And make sure when you're doing your content, you're not overcorrecting.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be on the extreme on the spectrum or anything like that, on the extreme sides of the spectrum. It can just be like, listen, we all have things that we're dealing with, some more so than others. And at the same time, it is still possible for you to build a business. And that doesn't mean it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like the easiest thing in the world, but it's possible. And
Yeah.
wherever you need the help, you can reach out, you can get that, whether that's in a paid container or in a community or in a friend or wherever else. It's possible for you, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about the hard times. And that doesn't
Right.
mean that we should gloss over the bad things that come with that.
Exactly. That was so important. Business is hard. Like being an entrepreneur, this shit's hard. It's so hard. And it's just so important to share that even when you're feeling like you're in a plateau, that's still valid. Like your journey, the journey to wherever you want to go should be just as important as those big celebrations for when you get there. So I hope that we see more of a trend in celebrating the plateaus and the just keeping on, keeping on. That came up a lot yesterday when I was talking to some clients. So it just came up again. So what would you say, Lexi, when we're talking about shifting? So some people feel a certain way about Instagram right now. We initially talked about doing this live back when people were still very strongly up in arms over the announcement, and they were like, I'm leaving Instagram. I'm packing my bags. See you later. So I wanted to hear what you think. If people are still considering that shift, if you are considering a shift, if you're going somewhere, tips for people that are considering hopping out, what do you think?
Yeah. So this is actually really interesting because I put up a poll and I don't have the numbers in front of me and I'd have to go into my analytics. But I remember checking it before it went off my story and I was like, so I was talking about this and I was like, okay, so basically right now I'm seeing two different things that people are doing. Number one, they're either leaving Instagram, they're going to other platforms, or number two, they're just going to keep trucking along and they're just going to keep doing the same thing they've always been doing and just keep moving forward. And I'm pretty sure every single person who voted on that poll voted that they were doing the second thing, that they were just going to keep on moving along. And personally, I feel like I've really seen that in my audience. Now, with that being said, I put this on my story earlier. I have broken one of my own rules. I haven't posted on my feed since June, since
I
like
saw
June
that.
28th. And that's more of like me taking a little bit of a step back, kind of like refiguring things out, figuring how I want to proceed with all of these changes. I personally, I don't see myself leaving Instagram anytime soon. And the reason for that is because as much as the changes have affected the energy and everything going on, this is still one of the most used platforms in the world. This is still one of the biggest platforms in the world. It's still right up there, up to Facebook. And whether it'll be the same way in 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, we don't know. We'll see what happens. There's probably going to be another social network that comes out, maybe made by some Gen Z kid or something. But right now, there's still very much an active community on here. And with that being said, I have actually taken a little bit of a step back and I've actually been posting on TikTok more, which has been fun. And it's been a fun creative change. And one of my TikToks kind of popped off over the weekend, which was a little fun. So for me, it's nice to have like, not as much pressure on myself to be posting 24/7 like I used to. So
Yes. You brought up a whole bunch of important pieces that I wanted to reiterate to people. So the biggest thing is making sure that if you're thinking about leaving, how does your audience feel about it? Like, are they staying or are they going? If your audience is going, then heck yeah, like you should probably like figure out where they're going and go with them. But for us, like we serve very similar niches, so our people are staying here for sure. I think our audience is kind of putting up their middle fingers and they're like, well, we're gonna do what we want to do, and if we incorporate like video content, then we do it, but we're not gonna go to your guidelines because that's too overwhelming. And I am here for that. I am here for like the consistency and trying to create a structure that will support the algorithm learning your content. But that is like the end of the specifics that I give, is just make it what you need it, try to be consistent, try to check off some boxes, but then give it your flair and make it fit your life. Something else you brought up was that the biggest platform, 100%. Like people use this so much, and the community that we can build here on Instagram is so much different than other platforms.
Oh yeah.
The content that's on Twitter. So I hopped over to Twitter the weekend after Adam made his announcement, and I was just listening. I was kind of partaking in the conversation. Like, it was fun to be very like feisty and see what came from those conversations. But it was very clear that the audience on Twitter was super different. And you saw a lot of conversations that were photographers mainly that were like, I'm 100% leaving Instagram because my photography, I do photography, not videography. So I feel that it goes against my values. And I respect that decision. However, does their audience know where to find them? Do they have a good enough referral base? Do they have other marketing tangents that they can use to support their business? So those pieces are very important to bring into play. And then having fun, like TikTok is fun. You get to do random stuff, right?
Yes,
I like their editing stuff better over there. And I feel like people are more open to being themselves instead of where here on Instagram, it's kind of like we've been so accustomed to the highlight reel, even though there's so many people out there that ignore the highlight aspect and they're being more raw with their content. But I think that TikTok stands out 100%. I have consumed so much content over there that's like, what did I just watch? But like, kudos for you to making this.
Yeah, exactly. On my TikTok For You page, it's like I'll scroll and then it's like a therapist giving me mental health advice, and then I'll scroll and it's a money coach giving me savings account advice, and then I scroll and it's like a video of a cat. It's so different and it's fun. It's a really nice, just like creative energy break from Instagram.
100%. One of my friends told me that there's this thing called prison talk.
I've seen that. It's come up on my For You page. It's
so
funny.
I've not experienced prison talk yet, but I'm hoping like talking about it will tell my For You page that I want to see it and like experience it, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, the FBI agent listening through your phone right now is like, okay, write that down. Prison talk.
100%. Let me add it. So is there anything else that comes up for you in terms of like Instagram and this shift and how you're looking to incorporate any of the changes, or if you're just gonna keep holding out?
So for me, it's been, which I've posted a lot of reels in the past, and I've had some of them get like more traction than usual, especially more than my feed post. With that being said, I honestly feel like at the end of the day, I'm going to keep making content that feels good for me. I am going to keep doing video content, so reels. I actually don't do IGTV that much. Anytime I post an IGTV, it's like a repurposed live. I used to do co-working sessions on lives, which was really fun, and I did that for a while. Lately, it's like my schedule has gotten so hectic that I can't do it as much as I used to. But that was really fun. And for me, it's honestly just like, which in my mind, I almost from a very marketing strategist point of view, I almost think of it as like Instagram is, and this is going to be a little bit polarizing, going back to what we were talking about earlier, but Instagram is almost not the place for like ridiculous visibility anymore. It's more of the secondary grounds for building a community, because just studying and I haven't done that much research into this, but just looking at my user habits, if I find someone on TikTok that I'm really interested in, or whatever they're talking about, I want to learn more about, it's like I use TikTok as the first, okay, let's meet each other. Let's get to know each other. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? All these things. Let me go follow you on Instagram, because that's where I can actually learn more information about you. It's easier to stalk someone on Instagram than it is on TikTok. And it's just really interesting to think of it from that point of view, because it's kind of like Instagram isn't going anywhere if that's the place where you truly feel like you were getting to know someone the most.
Do you think that would change for you if TikTok created a stories aspect for their app and the ability to send voice memos in Messenger?
I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know, because I haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would.
Me neither.
No, I don't
I think that would be almost too much.
I feel like, and I notice even with my friends, I have my personal page, and on there I follow, on my Instagram, I have a personal Instagram page, and I follow all my friends. I follow a lot of my friends on TikTok as well. none of my friends hardly post anything on TikTok, because even with user habits on TikTok, it's like the only times you really post on TikTok, it's almost like either number one, you're just having fun with friends, goofing around, and you're just like, hey, let's film a TikTok, whatever. Or it's like you're trying to go viral, or you're trying to like market something, or there's an opportunity there. It's not just, I want my friends to see this content. There's something more than that. On Instagram, it's a completely different story. It's like, I want my friends and family to meet my new kitten, or this life change that happened, or here's a picture from me at a party last weekend, or something like that. So I don't think so. I think Instagram is always going to be that place for me.
Yeah. I think that Instagram is very much so like our digital scrapbook, if you will, whether it's like our business scrapbook or our life scrapbook. And I love how you put that together. Like, I want my family to meet my new kitten, or watch this life event, because that is 100% true. I know that I made an Instagram account for my daughter when she was little. I didn't keep up with it because that was too many accounts to be logged into. But so many of our family members would like follow that account, and a lot of my friends that were like, you don't post enough of Amelia. I'm like, this is my business account. I'm sorry. Like, she'll make cameos every once in a while in stories, but it's not the main thing. And that was 100% the differentiation between those two. So that was really cool. So in terms of video content, I know you said that you're not going to be changing how you approach that. Is that going to be something like, what would you say to your clients in that regard? Are you encouraging them to try out video content, or do you have like some introvert peeps that are just like, heck no?
So yes and no. I talk about video content, reels, and all of that stuff, and Get Crazy Visible, and with my clients as well. And I do encourage all of my clients to start kind of getting out of their comfort zone a little bit with video content. I remember how I was when I first started when I first made this Instagram page, when I first started From the Desk of Lexi. I didn't get on stories for like face to cam for like 3 months. And when I finally did, it's still in my archive somewhere. I can go back and watch that. I was so awkward. You could see how uncomfortable I was. I was like scared if you look in my eyes. And so with that, if anyone listening to this or watching this live is like, I feel like I need to start producing video content, but I just feel uncomfortable in front of the camera. The number one thing to keep in mind is that it gets easier over time. It takes practice. Like, there's no way around that. It just gets easier with practice. But if you are like brand new, you're like, I'm terrified to be on video, something that I tell my clients is that pull out your phone, pull out Instagram, open up stories, click on hands-free, and go like you were going to film a video and put it on stories. Except you film the video, you talk about whatever. It could literally, like, you could be talking like about the cereal that you ate this morning or whatever. You film a video, you just talk to the camera, you film it, and then you delete it. And then you just do that like 3 times a day. And that just really helps you get used to the idea of talking to your phone, because who talks to their phone in real life? It's not like unless you're a YouTuber, content creator, a TikToker, or whatever. If it's like your job, then you're pulling out your phone and you're talking to it. But for people who aren't in that online space, it's weird. And so of course it's going to be unnatural. It's going to be uncomfortable. And so it really is just like baby steps. And I think that was like a huge tangent off of what you originally asked me. But to answer your question, I am encouraging my clients to use Reels, because even my clients that have taken that step outside of their comfort zone, they're seeing results from it. Reels is just getting really pushed by the algorithm, like we've been talking about this whole time. And then they can see that in their results.
100%. I'm the same way. I was the same way about FaceTime calls. I would never answer a FaceTime call. I was like, this is weird. I don't like this at all. Because I was just afraid that I would like accidentally FaceTime somebody. So I moved the app all the way off of my home screen. I was like, I can't. But finally I do it now. But the pandemic pushed me into that, and having a toddler, and my parents don't live here. So having them be able to talk to her was definitely something that we had to do. But another thing to bring up is that to create a reel, you don't actually have to be in it, like your person. And this comes up a lot because I have a client that we do social media management for, and it's an entity. It's not correlated to any public figure or anything. So it's just like a service, and there's no lead person, there's no face associated with it. So when this announcement came out and keeping up with their content and making it competitive with the algorithm, I was like, look, I'm going to pull some B-roll image. I'm going to need you guys to send me some footage. Maybe you strap a GoPro on your dog or something and we have him run through the house, like, because that's relevant to their account. But they're like, this is great. So we're going to be trying that next month. It's all about how creative you can get and not let the weight of the changes take over, because if you let the weight like weigh you down, you're definitely not going to go anywhere, and that's not going to do anything for you either. So yeah. There is ways to stay up with the competition without having to put your face in front of the camera. I'll be curious to see how their content does without an actual human in it, to see if the algorithm is more interested in people. But I think if the content is good, then it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even on TikTok, we see people or accounts go viral and they don't have people in there. And Canva even has, you know, they've brought in so many new tools for creating reels, for creating videos, for, you know, adding in text and all of those things. There's so many ways to do it. It's just like when reels popped off, there was this whole, which there still is, but there was this whole trend of people pointing to the beat. And then it was kind of like people thought to make a reel, you had to stand there and you had to dance and you had to point on the beat. I think I've only ever done one, maybe two reels where I've like pointed, and I've made so many others that are not that style. And there's just really like no rules when it comes to creating content like that.
Was one of the ones where you pointed to the audio of Level Up?
I don't remember. I don't know what that song is. If I heard it, I might know it.
Isn't it Sierra, Level Up? It goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, level up, level up, level up.
Oh no, I don't think I ever did that one.
That was like, if Reels had a theme song, that's it. But 100% that's it. Every single reel, I feel like everybody's first reel, except for you, was to that audio.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go find mine because that was really funny.
Yeah.
So last little bit before we head out, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I know that last time I had mentioned I was shifting my strategy into, thank you, Katie. That was a gorgeous remix, wasn't it? I'm shifting my strategy into incorporating these live videos, which then I am maximizing this content off of. And I chatted with Lexi before we went live that we were going to be recording this as a podcast as well. And I am hoping to stitch together these two chunks of video from Instagram crashing to then put onto YouTube. So I'm trying to spread out where I'm putting the content. Rather, it is going to be the same content, but depending on how you like to consume content, you'll be able to do that. So if you prefer YouTube, or I find somebody on YouTube through a Pinterest pin and they're able to click on a link to go check out Lexi's course that she has from this video, or they want to come and connect with either of us on Instagram, they totally can. So differentiating and spreading out our eggs outside of one basket is going to be crucial however we move forward. And you don't have to do it like I'm going to talk about here in just a second, but you could if you wanted. So Tuesdays are my pillar content days, if you want to call it that. Tuesdays I actually have a little list. I have a list that I write out with my topics that I want to make sure I cover. And those are going to become my H2 headers in my blog posts that I make. Or if, like last week happened, last week's live was just so packed full of information that I split it up into 4 blog posts itself. It was one gigantic podcast, one IGTV, YouTube, and then 4 blog posts are coming from it. So it also kind of aligns with the whole shift that the polls showed from this past weekend with people wanting short form captions on Instagram. So there's still the long form content somewhere. So if you're interested in like going and learning deeper or not listening or not waiting the 20-25 minutes to get to the point you want to go and you scroll through, then it's there. It's however you want to read it. So I think just kind of flexing our creativity and checking the boxes that the algorithms want, but also not conforming to just following the rules of one platform are going to help us in the long run. Do you feel like that's smart, or do you feel like that is too many of the same thing? Feel
Oh,
free to polarize.
yeah, so smart. No, I agree with you. I do agree with you, because the fact of the matter is that, like, just going back to, like, which you brought this up earlier when you were talking about carousel post, it's like a kinesthetic way to engage with the post. It goes back to like what we learned about like learning styles in school. Like, I remember I'm a visual learner. I'm a very visual learner. And so for me, that makes sense that I personally am going to prefer a pretty branded, well-structured, well-designed carousel post over like a long white and black caption, no emojis, just a solid, no visual interest whatsoever. And so it's the same thing when we talk about like content repurposing, which I know that you are just like the expert in. It's just like people people just prefer to learn in different ways. The same thing on Instagram. Some people love to watch stories. Some people love to watch like, or just like scroll on their homepage and go through their feed post. At the end of the day, you're just going to have it's going to be better if you have different things for different people, because people just can prefer to consume content in different ways.
100%. Do we want to talk about carousel posts really quick? Do you love carousel posts as well?
I do.
Okay, why do you love carousel posts?
Okay, I love carousel posts because it's like a story. It's like, it's every time you swipe, it's like, okay, what's next? It's almost like a chapter book, but a really minimized, minimal version of it. And the way people have been using carousel posts is so interesting to me, because now, which I even started to see this before I ever even got into business. On my personal page, I follow a lot of photographers. And a few years ago, it was when carousel post first came out, or which it's been several years now, but it was this mind-blowing thing to see a photographer post a landscape photo that they had taken, and they broke it up into carousel posts. And so you swipe across and it's just the same photo, and it's just this whole thing. And that was just like so incredible to see. And so now in business, it's like, obviously we're not posting landscape photography, but we are seeing it's just like a story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And to tell whatever you want to tell, or to share whatever you want to share, you can structure it in a way that allows you to be the architect of how the person consumes it. Because in captions, you can control if someone skips ahead to the end, or if they skim it, or whatever, but you can do that with carousel post. And so if there's a piece of information that you want them to know before they read this piece of information, you can do that. It's just really interesting to me.
I love, so with carousel posts and the panorama photos that you were talking about, that the photographers split, you called it something else and I couldn't remember, so I just threw that word in there.
No, I think that's the right word. Yeah, because I said landscape, but that's the right word I'm looking for, panoramic.
Oh, okay. Do you also like pull it to where they meet and just look and see if you can tell?
Yes. Yes, I do that all the time. I do that all the time.
This is the carousel version of a good transition in Reels.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, and it's and I actually forget the principle of like the psychological principle. I forget the name of it, but it's like, it's so satisfying to the human eye to see that, and it like moves, but you can't tell where it moves. It's so interesting.
100%. I love carousels because you get two opportunities to talk to your audience about what you want to talk to them about if they didn't engage with it. Have you noticed this as well?
Yes. Oh yeah. It reserves the post back in their feed if they didn't engage the first time.
Yep. I love this feature. And I actually posted one yesterday. I think that the fact that I kind of made fun of myself for posting it made people go and interact with it. But I think carousel posts get the wrong idea given because they don't get a lot of reach and hashtags per se. But yesterday's post for like my account, for example, I had over 30 clicks to my profile and my website, whereas the hashtag reach was like 9 on that post, which I'm trying out the the hashtag strategy that Lucas O'Keefe shared of what Instagram said was important to do now with the 8 hashtags, 3 being the same on all of them. I'm trying that out. So like you can take that whatever way you want, but the hashtag reach was 9 and the clicks on my account, my website was over 30. So in my mind, that's a gigantic win because I'm getting people to do the call to action. Whereas if I would have had 400 reach and hashtags but no clicks to my profile, that's not a good performing post in my opinion. So I hope to see more people utilizing the different forms of content and using them as something that will help them in different ways. Kind of like the wild card in Uno or like the skip card. Like they're all different benefits and they all play a really important role in how you nurture your audience and build that connection and the community around your brand, like you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, same. It's just, and I almost wish I could just like cut a hole into like the timeline and just like peek ahead 5 years to see what new apps have come out, what new changes have been made. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I mean, it's all relative as far as like how many followers you have or how much engagement you're getting. If you are doing the business that you want and if you are signing the clients that you want, and at the end of the day, if you're happy, that's all that matters. And that's like a very large step back to take from the conversation that we've been having. But and I think that now more than ever, people have been separating that from social media, and there's been more awareness around how much social media consumption can really affect not only your life but also just like your mental health. And so with all of these changes, I'm excited to see more conversations of like how it's just an app on our phone. It's just an app on our phone, and it doesn't have to be anything else.
Yep. And that puts the important role on us as content creators to make sure that we're creating a safe space. And I don't want to use the word positive because I don't want it to be misconstrued as like toxic positivity, but a happier place here when people do decide to consume content. And as someone that has to consume content, remember that life goes on around your phone as well. And you can look up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Almost like a safe space.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this was absolutely awesome. Thank you for coming and spilling the tea. I think it's safe to say
for having me.
Of course.
It was a lot of fun.
Yay. I think it's safe to say that we'll both be staying here on Instagram. We're not hopping in the car with Regina George and going somewhere.
Yeah, definitely not.
Awesome. Well, y'all make sure if you aren't following Lexi already, go ahead and follow her. And I will tag, if you're listening to the podcast, I'll tag all of this stuff in the description. This recording will be on YouTube and Instagram TV on Thursday, per usual. And next week, I'm going to be talking about something different. I don't remember what it is here right now, but my notification thingies, my countdown stickers are in the highlight on my Instagram bio. So go check that out. You can turn on the countdown sticker. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all. And thank you, Lexi.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.